Hey guys, Anthony back again. It is Sunday, May 21st, 2023. Just did a video on the rad bike, and I just remembered I wanted to talk to you guys about something that came up in a conversation that I was having with some people via social media. And the question was posed to me. I don't know how we got on the subject, but we were talking about my van. You guys know I have the bug out van. It's been outfitted with solar and has different gear in it, and I've had tons of videos on my channel on that van when I lived in Florida and now here in the North Carolina, South Carolina area. So it was said to me that in an SHTF you're going to get killed because you don't have a four-wheel drive vehicle. Your van's going to get, you're going to get bogged down and whatever. So I answered back, and I talked to this person, and I said, well, listen, yeah, there are advantages to having a four-wheel drive vehicle. There's no question about it. However, my van, I know from the beginning, from when I bought it and did the setup, that it wasn't meant to be something that I went off-roading with or went off the side of the road and, tried to get through back roads and ditches and all these things that you see these Jeeps doing, or these other four-wheel drive vehicles. That wasn't my intention for it. My intention for the van was to be like a battleship, like a base of operations, where if I had to, if I was somewhere and something happened and I was in the van, I've had everything I need in there to, survive for a time right where I was. So, and then in regards to bugging out, if you do not time that correctly, in other words, if there's an SHTF situation occurring and you wait or time it wrong, and then you think you're going to get in your four-wheel drive vehicle and go rescue your son who lives in Long Island about an hour away, in the midst of possible rioting and all kinds of people causing mayhem, I don't care what kind of vehicle you have. If you expose yourself in those, in that environment, number one, you're going to hit a traffic jam. I don't care if you got four-wheel drive, a van, whatever. You hit a traffic jam, you're done. You can't go backwards, you can't go forwards. Now you're prey to whoever's on the highways that wants to attack you or take your vehicle or take you or your passengers, whatever. So you've got to think about situational occurrences. My thinking is I don't plan on bugging out in the middle of rioting and an SHTF situation. I plan on staying put and being at my location, wherever that is, and I don't want to have to go out and do certain things in the middle of that type of environment. That's not what my van was intended for. If you are watching and listening and monitoring, airwaves, ham radio, different news cycles, things that are going on, and you could time something, and maybe I could get in the van before an SHTF happens, or as it's happening, as it's starting to happen, to get from point A to point B when things are still relatively calm. And that window might be 12 hours to 24 hours, depending on what's going on. Yeah, then my van's fine. On normal roads, I can bug out from point A to point B and get to where I'm going. This person in the four-wheel drive, I said, number one, do you have communications? Because if something happens, like an SHTF, comms are down, cell phones are down. You can't just get in your four-wheel drive vehicle blindly, start getting on the road to drive a long distance, maybe a short distance, yeah. And, back roads, things like that, that's fine. If you know different ways to get around, that's fine. But in an SHTF, that's already happening. You go on a back road and somebody lays out a trap and puts up an ambush or something. People are going to want your gear, want your stuff, want your vehicle, want your weapons, whatever you have. They're going to be opportunistic marauders around at that time, waiting for something like this when people are panicking and things are going on. You don't want to be out on the road. That's what I was trying to convey to him. Yes, and there's advantage of a four-wheel drive vehicle over, say, my van, and depending on the situation. But my van was never intended to be an off-roading type survival, getting up mountains and hills and stuff like that. I know its limitations. What it is meant to be is my Battleship. I could load it with gear, I could get to where I'm going, set up, live out of it, camp out of it, camouflage it, whatever I need to do, and that's a bug out location in and of itself, my van. So some people might have a cabin in the woods or something like that. I could take my van, load it, leave my primary source of refuge, and get in my van and use that as a interim short-term bug out vehicle. And so that was my thinking from the beginning of having it. And if I was on the road, something happened, I could stay out for an extended length of time, pulling off somewhere, parking somewhere safe, hopefully, and set up. So it wasn't meant to be going out four-wheeling and stuff like that. So yes, there are advantages if you have a four-wheel drive vehicle and you're monitoring situations and you know how to, you know when and where you're going to bug out to, and you time it right, yeah, the four-wheel drive vehicle, no doubt, you're going to be able to get through certain things and over certain things, like curbs and stuff like that, that probably I can't do. So there are advantages and disadvantages. But the main point is being aware of what is going on. That's the main thing, to be aware of the overall situation that we're in, that we will be presented with in the event of an SHTF. Because if you time it wrong and you're out there when people are raiding grocery stores and burning buildings down and stopping people on the road and raping and pillaging, don't think that's not going to happen. That's all. There's people of opportunistic, violent predators waiting for that to happen. And there's probably everyday people that you think are nice and quiet that may turn and snap at the moment and be opportunistic and turn into something like a marauder. So you can't, unless you know people ahead of time, you cannot trust just anybody you roll up on in an SHTF. So I told this person also that you're going to need, the biggest thing you need to worry about in an SHTF or a grid down is neighbors that you don't know, neighbors that are transient, maybe renters that are coming in and out of the neighborhood or the area. You don't know them. I'm sorry, you don't know them. Today I was walking the two dogs just in closing here, and I seen a car coming into the neighborhood at a high rate of speed. We do have speed bumps. Went over the speed bumps, passed me at a pretty high rate of speed for the neighborhood that we're in. And then shortly thereafter, I seen a police cruiser come in, an SUV police cruiser, and it looked to me that that cruiser was chasing that car. And so the car came down an alleyway, but the police cruiser went up another road. And then the car came out of the alleyway and then went up another road in the same direction the police was going, but on opposite roads. And I saw the police cruiser at the top of the alley, and I pointed, I went like that. And I said, if that's the car you're looking for, it just went up that way, so you guys are going to come nose to nose in a minute. I don't know what happened. I took the dogs back inside, and then when I came out, I didn't see anything going on. So I don't know if he was chasing that car. They were out of my view at that point. But that's you always have to be ready. Now, walking my dogs, you say, oh, you're walking your dogs, what do you need to be armed or ready? Well, that's an example of what I'm trying to say. You're out walking your dogs 100 feet from your house. Something happens, you have to be armed. I've got my sidearm, I've got a knife, I've got my cell phone. I've got two dogs, so my both hands are occupied, but I do have weapons on me and EDC on me to respond to something that happens at the spur of the moment, and a time when you're not expecting it. That's when things happen. So getting back to the four-wheel drive and the van, let me know what you think, guys, in the description box. I'd be curious to know, different scenarios, what you think. Four-wheel versus a van. Again, different mindset. My van is not a four-wheel drive vehicle. I know that. It has its limitations. My van is a Battleship. It goes slow and steady. It carries gear. It'll get me to my base and I could set up my base right there out of the van and use that as a base of operations. So that's my video. Just wanted to discuss that. I don't see a lot of preppers discussing that kind of stuff lately, but we'll talk about some more scenarios in some future videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay ready.